Some Like It Classic. I'm your host, Tammy Govea. So I have a question. What do the Palace of Versailles, the Great Wall of China, and a good old-fashioned London pub crawl have in common? Well, I'm going to tell you. It's our guest this morning, Edward Perotti. He's a globally recognized event designer, a very dear friend of mine, who I'm so happy to have this morning. Welcome, Edward.
I am so happy to be here. And who knew that we'd be reliving an early morning conversation?
I know. We've talked about doing something like this for a while, just because we're both such classic film fanatics or enthusiasts, however way you want to describe it.
It's just positive words.
Those are positive words. You got to keep it positive. And it was actually you who came up with this concept of, look, you've got the classic film podcast. I do event design. Let's figure something out. And it just works so beautifully because April is the month when the Art Deco movement celebrates its centennial anniversary, which is, when you think about it, an art movement that's still relevant 100 years later. Maybe you and I will be relevant 100 years from now.
Relevant, yes. Around annoying people, no.
No. Well, we'll have some stuff like this to
there'll be legacy issues, trust me.
So what we decided on was picking a film, right, that depicts Art Deco, celebrates Art Deco, and what is one of our favorite films of all time?
Thin Man.
The Thin Man! I rewatched it recently because I hadn't seen it in a bit. You didn't rewatch it. How many times have you seen this thing?
Yeah, well, it's too many times. And it really, really, really is to hone in on one particular scene. But it's definitely one of those film series, right? Because I don't want to just call it a film. It really, truly is a series that is the perfect example of, for me, actors and chemistry.
Yeah.
Their chemistry. I mean, the fact that people thought that they were a real life couple. Right? I mean, I think it's kind of funny. They talk to each other the way my husband and I talk to each other. Snarky, snappy, looking flawlessly put together every time, right?
At all times.
At all times. But it really did push out the Deco look. I mean, Hollywood had already embraced so much of it, right? I mean, in everything, even the Wizard of Oz, Emerald City looked like a Deco green palace.
That's a really good point.
Right? I mean, it was that Mesoamerican vibe was just everywhere. What I liked about the Thin Man, though, was that it was subtle. It wasn't. I mean, they lived in the Waldorf Astoria, right? And how much more Deco could you have been of a hotel back in that time? But it was so elegant and so there was a sophistication about it that, to me, with those movies, keeps it timeless.
Yes.
Not kitschy.
There's such a beautiful rhythm to the film. And that's, because of the writing. And obviously it's based off of Dashiell Hammett's story. And to your point, the chemistry between them, the writing, the pacing is just perfection. Because there's so many things going on. It's a whodunit.
Yeah. Their comedic timing that's what I mean. You would really think that they were together for decades.
Yeah.
And honestly, let's not forget the four-legged friend who, recently, I just lost mine, but who was named Asta.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. People, that's kind of ridiculously how much I love the movies, is Asta was named after the Waldorf Astoria.
Yes.
And I'm like, what better dog for me than to have a hotel dog? Anyway.
One of the things that I love too, not just with Art Deco, because there's so many different influences in architecture and design, but also in fashion.
Hmm.
I always love to give kudos to the costume designers, and on this particular film, it was Dolly Tree, who her experience in the early 1920s was more designing for cabarets, and then she ended up working on a Hitchcock film, and Hitchcock was actually a co-producer, and then she moved out to Hollywood, and um, just she had a lovely career. And Myrna Loy is exquisite in anything, but her dresses are just divine. They're just divine. And I love the comments that Nick makes about his wife and how she looks, and or how well she's put together, or like, you're looking a little peakish there. Don't talk to me with the ice pack on the head. Don't talk to me. Don't scream at me.
I think her being dragged into the bar, into the hotel in the bar by Asta with the packages, falling down in front, and him worried about the dog and not her, as she just gets up in this suit and she's just perfect.
The collar.
The collar didn't move, and they didn't cut away. So her getting up and looking like that, I really want to know how many whale bones were shoved in that collar. Because, I don't wear high heels, but if I fell in that skirt, fitted the way it was with that jacket, stood up, my hair would be all over the place, and that collar would be just
a little chipped.
Right? But everything, and I think that you're right with the costumes and with the attitude, there was this sleekness. There was, which really kind of also feeds into the Art Deco vibe, right? It was very sleek. I would love to have seen it in color.
Absolutely. I often think about that.
Just because everything in the Deco movement was vibrant, right? I mean, the rich purples and emerald greens, and I look at that one scene and I'm like, what the heck was the color of that suit? Right? It just, his fitted great, but it was a charcoal gray. It was charcoal gray flannel, whatever. Great, Nick. That wonderful for you. But the gay sensibility in me really wants to know what her wardrobe coloring looks like.
I wonder if they'll ever do that. I mean, they do that now for some of the films. They colorize them just to have as, and trying to stay as true to the time period as possible.
But you know what? I don't know if it would work.
I don't know if it would work. I would just like it as an option to see what it looked like.
I mean, I've often thought, my favorite all-time film ever is Sunset Boulevard. And I've often thought, what would the house look like colorized?
Yeah.
And then part of me is like, I think it would take away from the haunting.
The darkness of it.
Right?
Yeah.
And there's something about the way The Thin Man is filmed and lit. The way those sets are lit, you really, really see it, but it's subtle. It's to me, it's part of the story, but it doesn't have a big presence. It's almost like the soul of the environment is that sleekness, is that cleanliness. So to me, their characters stood out. Their characters were so big that would they have gotten lost in an overly elaborate set?
Absolutely. And the film too just lends itself. There's so many shadowy moments. Yes. Yeah. So many, it's noir like.
Yes.
In a lot of aspects. And so colorizing it absolutely would take away from the feel of it and the drama, as much as it's not sinister, but Nick gets into some scrapes in the film, right? Where he's in the office and there's no lights and there's just a flashlight, right? And he's going through the records and So I wouldn't want to take away from that. But look at how pretty it is. Look at the color of this poster.
It is great. I really wish the Academy Museum would do an exhibition on the costumes.
Oh, wouldn't that be wonderful?
Just to be, well, one, I want to really see how small they really were
Yeah, well,
as human beings. Um,
tiny. Yes,
tiny, tiny way. I mean,
tiny.
William Powell's waist was probably my left thigh.
Yeah,
But
right.
it just, God, that's a visual. But that era of movie, and with knowing how the Deco, and I don't want to, it really is a movement. I don't want to say it's a vibe. But the movement was so inspiring, and how the colors were and everything, that it would make an amazing exhibition.
Absolutely.
And I even wonder if we even have those things in storage anymore, or did James Cameron use them for Titanic and ruin them all?
I know, Neruda. I know. But that's a fun rabbit hole to go down. Absolutely.
Right?
And it's worth it, because that series is so iconic and so influential and such a beautiful depiction of the times.
Yes.
And that's the beauty of classic Hollywood, is it's a depiction of the times. The storylines are a reflection of the times, the style. That's what makes it so fascinating, and something that should be preserved and shared and educate the masses on.
Well, it's so, the interaction between the husband and wife is so timely right now as well, right? I mean, she was her own person.
Absolutely. She was the one with the bucks. Hello.
Right? She did not, and she didn't, she bit back. She wasn't the cliche Hollywood housewife. She wasn't that at all. I mean, she could stand on her own 2 feet. She didn't need him. She wanted him.
Yeah, she loved him just so dearly.
And I kind of, without getting political, I kind of would love women to see that power and embrace that
Absolutely.
power again, and realize that this isn't new. It's like, y'all had a voice.
Yeah.
Well, chose to give it to someone else.
The film Thin Man's 1934, which is just pre-code, I think ended in 32.
Yeah, something like that.
Something, it was just the end of pre-code film. And if you want to look at powerful female characters, you got to watch the pre-code movies.
Yeah.
Because these broads didn't put up with anything.
Well, and that's where it's, you look at the absolute elegance of the Deco movement.
Yeah.
The wardrobe, the lavaliers, right? Just everything. Women were, the female form itself, regardless of shape, was embraced,
celebrated and embraced. Absolutely.
And there's a power there that, and for most part, Hollywood showed the men enjoying it, right? They weren't showing them repressing it. It was always seemed like a collaboration between the two. So I'm like, why wouldn't we want people to realize these movies actually aren't dated, right? Yeah, maybe some of the scripting and some of the words, yeah. Some of the camp that goes on, of course it is, but no more so than the stupid camp we have now.
I know.
But really look at the fact that people embraced who they were in the time where they, that they were living, and were non-apologetic.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a beautiful thing with these movies.
Yeah.
Is, yeah, they got into scrapes and everything, and they were both such different people, but they embraced what each one brought to the table, and they weren't complete without the other one.
One thing I want to embrace before we move into your magic event design concepts. So the film is 91 minutes long.
That was long.
91 minutes. I tried to do my best with counting the number of cocktails served. I'm sure I missed some, but I counted 35. Half of which I'm pretty sure Nick and Nora consumed, and the other half of parties and what have you. So if you divide 91 minutes into 35 cocktails, that's 2.6 cocktails a minute.
God, that sounds like our high school years.
Right? Oh, were the days, my friends. Okay, let's get into your magic, Ed. Let's get
Well,
into
are you going to tell your audience one thing? Okay, everybody, she looks really nervous right now. I do need to dish, and just to, not that we're Nepo babies to each other, but in regards to today, Tammy and I met when we were freshmen in high school 2 years ago.
a couple years ago.
Just
Yeah.
a couple years ago. Um, and it's hysterical that, and we met in theater. And the fact that we are still in love with, well, each other,
Obviously.
but with the same things.
Yeah.
Right? We're still in love with performances. We're still in love with just the emotion that film and theater and everything brings out. You went your path with taking that love somewhere. I went my path with how does that inspire experiences for people? And I just needed to dish a little. I'm not saying the year we met, if you noticed that. I just said we were freshmen.
It was 1922, I think.
Yes, we met before the Thin Man movie came out.
Right? We inspired the Thin Man movies. Come on.
Absolutely. Sorry. Anyway, you were saying
That.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers. And I hope our listeners and viewers, make sure and grab a libation as you continue to watch this. I want you to speak on the magic that you create with your events. And now's a really important time to celebrate with your friends and with the people that you love. And being that Art Deco is our jam right now, what are your thoughts on how to put a Nick and Nora soiree together?
Well, first of all, you're doing what exactly you should be doing, holding a champagne glass. I love a coupe. So, I mean, you're 100% correct. Now more than ever, and I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. I don't care what part of the world you're in. Everything is discombobulated. Yeah. I think that's a politically safe way to put it. Celebrating getting together now is more important than ever before. From companies to just backyard barbecues. It really, you don't throw an event for negative reasons, right? There are no, I mean, even at a wake, you're celebrating life.
For sure. Yeah.
Right? So you're not like Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead party. Although that would be kind of funny.
That would be funny.
There are a couple people actually I would do that for. But we won't gossip about people in LA. Oh, that was bad. I'm going to get email on that one. But it is the Deco vibe is actually a perfect one to start weaving in, even just for this year, just because it's fun. And I think there's a point of clarification. Usually when people say I want a Deco party, what's in their head is The Great Gatsby and that look. And as much as that look is correct to a certain extent with it, because that was about, when the lines and the shapes and everything started coming in, that's not Deco. Right. And I think that's a big clarification is you want sleekness, you want bold colors, you want the geometric shapes, but you also want symmetry. You want, and there is, and lighting and luxurious materials. And you don't necessarily have to spend a lot of money doing that. Right? I mean, infamous for going to a fabric store when I can't find a proper tablecloth and buying a couple yards of a crushed velvet and laying that across the table. I mean, there are ways to do it, but it really is keeping it simple, but keeping it luxurious. But more importantly, nowadays, making sure that your voice and your style is in it. And that's it. I mean, if you're like, I pulled some random pictures of things, but like I love I love this tablecloth. I love it. It's beautiful. But what most people do is they're going to kill it by overdoing centerpieces and tablescapes. If you're going to go really bold with something like this, let it stand on its own 2 feet, four corners, whatever you want to call it. Let it be the statement without making it disappear. Right. So it's understanding the word edit, because I think that would be also a very Deco way of thinking, was even though everything was luxurious, it was shapes, it was symmetry, it wasn't opulent. And when you think Great Gatsby, you do go opulent. So when you look at like the movie like The Thin Man, everything was luxurious, but it was clean and it was
Mhm.
simple and it felt rich. So when you think deco events, think about think about luxury retail nowadays. They're not selling you the product. They're selling you how the product makes you feel.
Absolutely. The experience.
The experience, right?
Right.
Which kind of goes to my tagline. I had to throw this picture in there because it is a little opulent. It is a stage set, but look at how opulent it is in the simplicity. Single color, whether you can tell or not tell, but it white and silver. That is it.
It's just
Sleek
spectacular.
lines. It's sophisticated, it's fun, it's memorable, and it does give you that moment where you kind of breathe in and you're like, wow. And that's what you want. Now, granted, people aren't going to do this for themselves at home, but find those imagery that inspires you. Find those moments like in that photo. What inspires you about that picture to make you
Mhm.
inhale a little bit? It's not the whole thing. You need to take yourself out of that initial reaction. For me, it was the columns. It was the sleek roundedness of the columns, but the size of them. So for me, I would completely riff off of that one piece and make that one piece my inspiration to just build off of and take that to the next level. Deco is not an easy look to imitate. And I think that's also key. Yes, I'm going to keep going back to the Great Gatsby, because if someone ever asks me for a Great Gatsby party again, I'm going to probably smack them in the back of the head. But there is something needs to call to you with Deco, and you can't you can't recreate it. It's a moment in time, and you just need to remember it's a moment in time.
Mm.
And you're not the person who put it together. You're not in the time that you put it together. You're not with the budget or the audience that you put it together for. So throw that I want to recreate it. Never going to happen. Which takes me back to make it your own and watch a movie like The Thin Man, and what draws you, right? Is it the lights and the shadows? Is it, God forbid, the glasses and the drinks, right? Is it
Beautiful.
right?
Beautiful lines of this, you know?
Simple, clean.
Just gorgeous.
Yeah. It really kind of, as people are looking to do something unique and different, for me, a deco is unique and different because most people don't actually know what deco is.
No, they don't.
And
They've heard of it.
they've heard of it,
They've heard
but
of
they
it.
equate it with something that it really isn't.
Hmm.
And even just finding little centerpieces that would go on a cocktail table or a little bar that has the symmetry or whatever. Today is not, everyone talks about immersive experiences and all of that, which I agree with. However, I can't project you back to 1937. And there are clients that have the budget to do that. But I would not let them do that, because there's nothing unique about it. how do you take that Deco vibe and make it live longer by reimagining it for today?
Mm.
And as long as if you're reimagining it and you're putting your name on it, that Deco conversation doesn't go away and it doesn't
Mm.
become, a museum piece.
It truly is timeless.
Well, and that's it. And I think that's the biggest thing, is really understanding that it is timeless.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain moments in history from a design perspective and a film perspective that truly are timeless. Elizabethan, truly timeless. Deco, truly timeless. People may argue with me on this one, but Haight-Ashbury in the 60s,
Absolutely.
totally timeless.
Absolutely.
And now more than ever, I think, especially with the anniversary, Deco is so relevant.
And two, I want to make sure that people are aware, TCM will be airing The Thin Man on Friday, April 11th. So if you're not familiar with the film, I mean, you can download it, you can rent it anytime, anywhere. But it is going to be on TCM, and we always love to talk about TCM. Friday, April 11th, 4:15 Pacific time. If you do catch the film, make sure and tell TCM that Some Like It Classic and Edward Perotti sent you their way. Before we sign off, I mean, I just love circling back to seek out what inspires you. Deco, classic film, folks who are listening and watching are inspired by the genre. And when it comes to having your friends and family together, for whatever reason, seek out what resonates with you, what makes you you.
Correct.
Because it's have whatever you're doing be a reflection of your heart and soul. Because
Yep.
it matters. It matters.
I mean, always remember that you are giving your guests a moment to remember.
Yeah.
And if you remember that always, and they're not going to remember what you fed them. They're not going to remember the decor. They're going to remember how Maya Angelou had it right. They're going to remember how the event and you made them feel.
Mm-hmm.
And they will always look back on it fondly, regardless of how much time goes on the books. They will look back at that moment and say, oh my God, do you remember when? And smile. That's what you want. That's what events are supposed to do. They're meant to inspire people. They're meant to bring a community together. They're meant to make people connected and happy.
Mm.
So find what gets you, and I would encourage everybody to figure out something from a Deco perspective.
Yes.
What to do. I mean, ladies, have a lavalier competition. Who comes with the longest lavalier, right? Silly things. Cocktails inspired by all the characters or the locations. Have some fun with it, but make it your own.
Make it your own. Absolutely. Where can people find you, Edward? Where
usually on the post office wall, but
people stay inspired by you on the post office walls.
Wanted. No. You can find me on my website, edwardaperotti.com, or you can look. I'm not a big social media guy.
I'm working on it, people. I'm working on it.
Working on it, but yeah, I'm not going to get on my soapbox of I like to keep my clients' confidence, but I am slowly working on it. But you can also look for inspiration from me on Instagram, which is at Perotti EA. And surprisingly enough, I actually do reply. It may take me a couple days, but I do reply. But yeah, you can find me there. You can find me anywhere. You can find me in print. You can Google me. Unfortunately, I think I'm getting a little bit too much around, but I'm enjoying just getting people to think outside their own comfort zone of their own box.
That's where the magic lies, right?
100%.
Just find that little discomfort, because that's where all the juice is and that's where all the magic lies.
Yep, absolutely.
I want to thank you again, Ed. This is Edward. I've always called you Ed.
I was going to say, after all these years, you can call me Eddie. No
I
one else.
know. Only. This has just been so much fun, and I hope we can do this again, because there's so many inspirations out there, so many ideas out there, and just to have a continuous moment where we encourage people to celebrate life, to focus on celebrating life. Everyone, thank you for joining Some Like It Classic. You can follow us on Instagram at Like It Classic and on Facebook at Some Like It Classic. This podcast will be aired on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Tammy Govea. This has been Some Like It Classic, the JLJ Media podcast. Until we meet again.